I never thought I'd be that guy, the one caught off guard at the worst moment. But here I am, sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, trying to process what I just saw. My wrists are tingling, like the blood's draining out of my fingers, and my stomach feels tight, like I've swallowed a brick. It all started a few months ago. I'd been working late more often, but I shrugged it off. Jenna, my fiancée, seemed a little more stressed, maybe a little more distant, but I didn't want to overthink it. She's been my everything since college, the girl I thought I knew inside out. We had plans, our wedding scheduled in 2 weeks, a life that we'd been building together, or so I believed. Then yesterday, I got her laptop open to check a few things because I'd noticed her hiding her phone more lately. I don't normally snoop, but something felt off. The moment the screen lit up, I saw the email notification. Meeting with my boss tomorrow, from her email account. Nothing unusual there, I thought. But then I saw the reply, an email chain that started casually but quickly turned into something more intimate. My eyes froze on the words, "Can't wait to see you tonight, and don't forget no one can know." Those words hit me like a punch in the guts. I scrolled further, more emails, more details. The physical evidence piled up. The hotel reservation confirmation for a place I knew well under her boss's name. The lingerie she bought for that night buried in her closet, hidden under a pile of laundry. My mind spun out. I could feel my pulse pounding hard in my head, my palms started to sweat. I couldn't breathe right. I felt sick. She's been lying to my face this entire time. I've been planning our future, thinking about the house, the kids, the wedding, all while she's been sneaking around, cheating, hiding her lies behind her sweet smile. I remember the moment vividly. I sat there, stunned, clutching her phone, scrolling through her secret messages. Every word, every photo, every hidden plan, everything confirmed what I feared. The woman I trusted more than anyone had been lying through her teeth. I felt betrayal's cold grip tighten around my chest. My vision blurred a little, and I wondered how I'd missed all the signs. She was more secretive lately, checking her phone at odd hours, never letting me see her emails. She'd always been so good at hiding it. I was blind. I remember whispering to myself, how could she do this after everything, after we've been through? My stomach churned and I fought the sudden urge to smash something. I wanted to scream, to shake her awake, to wake her up from this lie. But instead I stayed quiet, staring at the screen, replaying every moment when she was distracted or tired. Now knowing what she was really doing. The worst part, the baby. I saw the ultrasound image tucked away in her email, the little heartbeat, the date, like a dagger through my heart. She's been lying about that too. She's carrying someone else's child, and I had no idea. I felt the room tilt, like the world was spinning out of control. Every plan, every hope I had for us vanished in that moment. I clenched my fists so tight I thought my nails would dig into my palms. I wanted to tear her apart, to scream at her face, but I knew I had to stay calm. I couldn't let her see me like this. I needed to figure out my next move, but right now I was just numb. I looked at her phone, the evidence still glowing on the screen. My stomach dropped further. She'd been lying to me for months. She's been hiding this from me all this time, lying about work, lying about her whereabouts, lying about the pregnancy. Every second I'd spent trying to build something real, she'd been tearing it down behind my back. I could feel my jaw tight. My entire body was on fire, blood pounding in my ears. I knew this was the turning point. I had to decide what to do, but I already knew I'd never see her the same way again. I didn't sleep last night. My mind kept racing, jumping from one thought to another. I kept going back to the emails, the hotel reservation, the ultrasound image. Every detail was burned into my brain like a scar. I kept feeling that tight knot of betrayal in my gut, but I also knew I couldn't let her see me crack. Not yet. This morning I woke up early, before the world outside even stirred. The sunlight was just starting to creep through the blinds, casting a dull glow over everything. I could still feel the cold sweat on my palms, the taste of ash in my mouth. I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart pounding, trying to figure out my next step. I needed to get my head straight, but every time I closed my eyes, her face floated up, smiling, lying, hiding her secrets. I couldn't stop thinking about her. About how she used to look at me, how she used to say she loved me. When did that change? How did I miss all the signs? I realized I'd been blind not just to her infidelity but to her own lies. The woman I thought I knew was nothing but a stranger in disguise. I decided I had to confront her, but not just yet. I needed a plan, something airtight. I couldn't let her spin her web of lies anymore. I wanted to catch her in the act if I could, but I also needed to be smart about it. I'd been betrayed, and I wasn't going to let her walk away without consequences. I spent the morning cleaning up, pretending everything was normal. I needed to get her to talk, to admit everything. When she finally came out of her room, I could see the faint shadows under her eyes. She looked tired, probably from lying awake all night like me. She tried to smile, but it looked forced. "Morning," I said, voice flat. She hesitated, then replied, "Morning, did you sleep?" "Not really," I said, shrugging. "I've been thinking about everything." She looked nervous but kept her composure. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath. "Found your emails, the ones with your boss, the reservations, the ultrasound, everything I know about the baby." Her face froze for a moment, then she blinked rapidly like she was trying to hide her panic. "You went through my stuff, how could you do that?" "I had to know," I said. "You lied to me for months, you've been sneaking around, pretending everything's fine. How long has this been going on?" She looked down, her fingers twisting her phone nervously. "It's not what you think, it's complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, voice rising. "You lied to me while I was planning our wedding, while I was trying to build a future with you, and now you tell me it, complicated. That's a pretty fucking convenient excuse." She looked like she wanted to dissolve into tears, but her voice stayed steady. "It's not like that, I never meant for you to find out this way." "Too late," I snapped. "You've been hiding this for months. You're pregnant, probably with his kid, and I'm supposed to just forget everything." She looked like she wanted to say something, but no words came out. Silence. I felt a surge of fury. I didn't want her to see me break, but I couldn't hold it back. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to shake her, to scream at her, but instead I kept my voice cold. "You lied, cheated, and betrayed me, and I'm done." I didn't mean to sound so harsh, but honestly I felt like my insides were burning. I was angry at her, yes. But more than that, I was angry at myself for trusting her so blindly. I needed to get out of that house. I told her I'd be back later, and I've been packing since then. I don't know exactly what I'll do next, but I do know this: I'm done playing nice. I'm done pretending everything's okay. I'm going to make her see what her lies have done to me. That's the only way I'll get any peace again. As I pack, I find her wedding ring. I stare at it for a long moment. Then I slip it into my pocket. I won't be needing that anymore. I'll leave her with her secrets and her lies. I just wonder how she's going to react when she finds out I know everything. That's when the real game begins. Leaving that house felt like ripping a part of myself out. Every step I took away from it, I could feel the weight of betrayal pressing down harder. I didn't bother calling anyone. I didn't want to explain just yet. I needed to sit alone, figure out what the hell I was going to do next. My mind kept replaying the emails, the ultrasound, her lies. Everything I'd discovered in that cold, dark night now turned into a kind of twisted map of her deception. I drove aimlessly for a while, trying to clear my head. The sound of the engine, the rumble of the tires on the pavement, everything else faded into the background. All I could focus on was how her betrayal felt like a stab in the back, sharp and relentless. I'd trusted her with everything, and she'd thrown it all away for her boss, probably for months, maybe longer. I pulled into a quiet parking lot and sat there, staring at the horizon. My stomach twisted again, tightening like a steel trap. I needed a plan. Something that would hit her where it hurt, but without crossing into outright chaos. I wanted her to see what she'd lost, not just to punish her, but to make her understand the damage she'd done. Revenge, I realized, wasn't just about hurting her. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I came up with an idea, a slow burn. I'd find a way to leak her secrets, her emails, her pregnancy details, something that would make her realize I knew everything. I wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, just like I did now. I knew I wasn't going to get her to admit her lies easily, but I could make her face the music, publicly, quietly, in a way that shattered her image and made her realize she'd lost me forever. It started with some digging. I'd already saved the emails, the hotel confirmations. I needed more. I called an old friend who worked in digital security, someone I trusted. I explained everything: how she'd been cheating, hiding her pregnancy, lying to my face. I asked him how I could leak her emails without her knowing, without crossing any legal lines. He told me about a way to do it anonymously to make her see she was vulnerable, that her secrets weren't so safe after all. While I waited for him to set that up, I started gathering evidence of her lies. Photos of the hotel, the ultrasound images, the emails, everything. I wanted to make sure she couldn't deny what I'd uncovered. I also bought a small, inconspicuous recording device, just in case I needed to catch her in a live face-to-face later. I wasn't planning to confront her again without some solid proof. In the meantime, I remembered her telling me she was working late, or out with friends. All that was bullshit now. I checked her bank account, her social media, everything. I knew her routine better than I knew my own. She'd been sneaking around with her boss, planning this entire thing, and I had the evidence to prove it. Knowing that, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Revenge wasn't just an impulse anymore. It was a necessity. I also considered confronting her directly. But I knew if I did that now, she'd probably deny everything or turn everything around on me. I needed her feeling cornered, vulnerable, like her carefully constructed lies were crumbling. That was the only way I'd get her to admit something, or at least see that I was serious about ending this. Finally, my phone buzzed. It was my friend. He'd set everything up. My emails would go out tonight, exposing her secrets to people she trusted. I felt a cold satisfaction twist in my chest. This plan was going to shake her world, make her realize that her lies weren't going to stay buried forever. I could almost taste the revenge, bitter and sweet all at once. As I sat there, I realized something else. I wasn't aiming for her destruction. Not exactly. I just wanted her to feel what it was like to be betrayed, to be vulnerable. I wanted her to understand that trust, once broken, can't be easily repaired. And most of all, I wanted to walk away from her with my head held high, knowing I didn't let her get away with it. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything settle. Tonight, I'd make her see what she had done. And when it was all over, I'd decide whether I could forgive her or if this was the end of us completely. Night fell and the moment I'd been waiting for arrived. My phone buzzed with the notification. My emails had gone out. The evidence was now out there, scattered across the digital ether, impossible for her to control or hide. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. Part of me wanted to see her reaction immediately, but I knew better. Revenge, true revenge, needed patience and timing. I stayed in my car for a few minutes, listening to the quiet hum of the city around me. The cool night air brushed against my skin, but inside I felt like I'd just finished a marathon. My stomach was clenched tight and my palms felt clammy. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming myself. I'd been played for a fool, but I wasn't going to let her win entirely. Time passed slowly. I pulled out my burner phone and checked the email account I'd created specifically for this, just to monitor if she'd try to contact me or if her friends would respond. Nothing yet, but I knew it wouldn't be long. When she found out her secrets were exposed, she'd be furious, probably desperate. That's when I'd make my move. A few minutes later, my phone vibrated again. A flood of messages, some from her, started pouring in. I read the first one, her frantic text trying to deny everything, claiming her account had been hacked. That was just typical. She'd spin a story to save herself, but I knew better. I'd sent her proof, every email, every photo, every detail I'd uncovered. She couldn't deny the truth anymore. I also received a message from her boss, an angry, defensive reply. He was trying to deny everything, calling her mistaken, claiming their relationship was purely professional. A lie I knew. I had the proof. I didn't bother replying, I just watched it unfold. This was her world crumbling piece by piece. My revenge was working, but I didn't want to push too hard just yet. I knew she'd come crawling, she'd try to cover her tracks, plead innocence, or even blame me for hacking her accounts. I had to stay calm, stay in control. I wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, like she'd lost her hold on everything she once thought was safe. That's when I decided I'd confront her directly, not over the phone. No, I'd do it face to face. I wanted her to see my anger, my disappointment, my coldness, everything I'd kept bottled up. I needed her to understand that this wasn't just some passing mistake. It was her final act of betrayal. So I drove to her apartment. I knew she'd be home soon, probably freaking out trying to figure out how I found out. I parked a few blocks away, watching her place with a strange sense of detachment. My mind was clear, calculated. This wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake anymore. It was about closure. When she opened the door, her eyes widened at the sight of me. I could see the shock, the panic. She tried to speak, but I cut her off. "You lied, you cheated, you betrayed me," I said, voice cold and steady. "I know everything." Her face twisted in a mixture of guilt and fury. "Please, I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just—" "Save it," I interrupted. "You thought you could get away with it. You thought I'd never find out, but I did. The emails, the ultrasound, the hotel, all of it." She looked like she wanted to cry, but her voice stayed fragile. "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, I think I see it very clearly now," I said, stepping closer. "You've been lying to me for months. While I was planning our future, you were planning your escape. With him and the baby. Well, congratulations, Jenna, you're about to lose everything." She shrank back, trembling, tears welling. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I was scared. I didn't want to lose everything." "You should have thought about that before you screwed around behind my back," I shot back. My stomach was tight, my jaw clenched. I wasn't raising my voice, but I was fierce. "It's over. I'm done with your lies." She looked defeated, and that's when I knew it was time. I handed her back the ring I'd been holding all night. "Keep this," I said coldly. "You don't deserve it, and don't bother trying to contact me again. Our life is finished." She reached out, but I stepped back and turned away. I left her standing there, broken and crying, knowing I'd finally cut her out of my life for good. As I walked away, I felt a strange relief. It was the end of something terrible, but also the beginning of something new, something I'd have to rebuild from the ashes. That night I finally understood one thing. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to start over, and I was ready to do just that. The days that followed felt like a blur of quiet chaos. I stayed away from her apartment, from her social media, from everything that tied her to that life. Instead, I threw myself into sorting out what was next. The emails I leaked had done their job. Her boss was furious, her friends were suspicious, and her reputation was taking a hit. Good. That's what she deserved for the lies. But the truth was, I wasn't just angry about the betrayal. I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, for trusting someone so completely and getting blindsided. Sometimes I wondered if I'd been naive or just too damn hopeful. Either way, I knew I had to focus on moving forward. Still, each night, my mind replayed that gut-wrenching scene. The moment I finally confronted her, saw the tears in her eyes, the broken woman I'd loved so much. It was a bitter taste I couldn't shake. I kept my distance from her, but I made sure she knew I was serious. I didn't leave any room for her to spin her lies anymore. I blocked her number, deleted her from social media, and changed my phone number. I wanted her to feel isolated, to realize that her actions had cut her off from me and from everyone else. I wasn't going to be the one to chase after her, beg her to stay. My pride was scarred, but I still had it. One afternoon, I met with a lawyer. I needed to file for divorce, and I wanted to do it cleanly. No messy fights, no dragging it out. Just a swift, decisive ending. As I sat in that office, I could feel my jaw tighten. Again, the same way it had when I saw her emails. The lawyer handed me the paperwork, and I signed without hesitation. I was done. I wanted her out of my life, and I was ready to reclaim what was mine. That night I went back to my place, a small apartment I'd been renting for a while now. It felt different somehow, lighter in some ways, heavier in others. I looked around the empty space, the silence almost deafening. I didn't bother turning on the TV or music. Instead, I sat on the couch and stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. In the quiet moments, I realized how much I'd lost: trust, hope, the future we'd planned. But I also saw what I'd gained: clarity, strength, a sense of finally taking control. I'd been blindsided, yes, but I'd also found the resolve to walk away. And honestly, that felt better than I expected. The one thing I knew with certainty now was that I wouldn't let her define me anymore. Her betrayal was a chapter, but it wasn't my entire story. I was going to rebuild piece by piece, stronger than before. And in the end, I had to admit, I felt relief. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally taken back my life. As I sat there, the night air cooled my skin and I finally allowed myself to breathe. The pain was still there, but it was tempered by a flicker of hope. I had no idea what the future held, but I was done waiting for her to decide it for me. I was in charge now, and that I realized was the real victory. The days turned into weeks and I kept moving forward. Every morning I woke up with a clearer head, though the ache of betrayal still lingered beneath the surface. I'd never imagined my life would come crashing down like this, but somehow I had to accept that my trust had been shattered and I had to rebuild from scratch. One afternoon, I packed up the last of her belongings from the apartment, things I'd kept just in case, things I thought I might need someday. I took her keys, her clothes, the pictures of us from happier times, and handed everything over to her. I didn't want any reminders of what we'd lost. I wanted to leave it all behind, like a heavy weight I'd finally shed. When I walked out the door, I felt an odd sense of closure. Not happiness, not relief exactly, but a strange calm. I looked back one last time, imagining her standing there, probably crying or furious. I didn't know or care anymore. This was the end of us. I closed the door and walked away, feeling lighter, like I'd finally stepped out of a dark tunnel. I went straight to a cafe and sat outside, watching the world go by. As I sipped my coffee, I thought about everything I'd learned. Trust is fragile, it can be shattered in an instant. But strength, true strength, lies in how you pick yourself up afterward. I'd been knocked down hard, but I was still standing, maybe even stronger. I realized that revenge had served its purpose. It had opened my eyes and forced her to face the consequences. But above all, I needed to focus on myself now. I needed to heal, to find purpose outside of her shadow. So I made a promise to myself. No more looking back, no more regrets. Just forward, one step at a time. Looking back, I'd say to anyone reading this, trust your gut. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how much you want to believe in the best. And when you see the signs, don't hesitate to act, because sometimes the cost of ignoring them is losing everything you care about. Most importantly, I learned that revenge isn't about hurting someone else just to make yourself feel better. It's about reclaiming your dignity, your peace, and your life. It's about saying, you may have broken me, but I will rise again. And I did. I will. So if you're ever in a situation like mine, remember this. The pain will fade, but your strength will stay. And in the end, your biggest victory isn't revenge. It's realizing you're capable of starting over, no matter what's been taken from you.